Hello, Eduardo. How are you doing?
Hello, Poonam. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well too. Thank you for taking time to talk to us. And
It's my pleasure.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
And
you for inviting me.
thank you. And congratulations on getting admit offer from MIT, an M7 school. How does it feel?
Thank you. It's really amazing. Like I'm an engineer and I have always worked with innovation and technology. So MIT is like the reference school for me. And we know how long is the process of applying for the MBA. It's tough. Sometimes we think that we won't be able to do it. So I'm really happy and excited for the next years now.
Great. Can you tell us about yourself? Where are you
Sure.
from? Where did you do your undergrad? And what do you do now?
Sure. I'm an engineer. I'm an entrepreneur from Brazil. And I'm also a person that loves design, loves neuroscience, and like I like to understand how the brain and everything in people works. And my background is actually very varied. But during my entire career, I tried to engage in innovation projects and technology teams. So I started my undergraduate degree in University as a mechanical engineer. Then my first job was actually in a ski station in California. Then I had moved to the Netherlands where I got a full tuition scholarship to study automotive engineering. And over there, I engaged in some innovative things. I was on the energy lab where I worked with a turbine that shoots flies over the ocean, and I actually failed to build it.
Mhm.
And after, I engaged in a solar oven where we constructed the first and the only solar oven in the world that is capable of cooking at night. I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah, I
And
was
I
impressed
worked with
with that
some
too.
algorithms for BMW. After that, I started to learn a little bit of German and moved to Stuttgart, where I worked with risk analysis for petrochemical plants. And I came back to Brazil. I joined IBM as a trainee for the business. And for the next years, I've worked with artificial intelligence projects as a consultant and seller. And I did achieve some great things in IBM. I built an innovation team that joined people from the design lab, from the research to work with me in sales. I worked in the expansion of the artificial intelligence market in Brazil. But some years later, I decided to quit the job with three partners and join our company. And our main purpose is to work with technology, with high technology, with creative things. And we have like a complex chain of partnerships that allow us to be in different industries, to work with different technologies. And I'm pretty happy with that because I'm dealing with business and talking with people that I probably wouldn't be able to talk if I was only in IBM. And I had also joined Mars to work with experience in more in the 8 countries that the company is on. And that's it. Now I'm excited with the MBA.
You had such a brilliant career. You were doing so well at the IBM and had brilliant prospects, but you still chose to quit it to establish your own startup. Could you please tell us about your rationale for making this switch?
Sure. So I think for the major part of my life, success means to hold a higher hierarchic position in a big company. And I was doing my path to that. So I joined IBM, competing against thousands of candidates. And I got 4 prizes for outstanding performance. I got 2 promotions in 3 years. And I worked like crazy, to be honest. But
Mhm.
at the same moment, I was dealing outside IBM with some entrepreneurs, with smaller companies, with medium companies that had brilliant ideas, but they couldn't afford their projects. And by that time, the company was actually passing through a cultural change. And they thought that this kind of behavior was something that they would like to invest. I was kind of not, um, how can I say that? My values were not the same as of the leaders of IBM, so I decided to quit. And my main purpose now is to work with technology in projects that I feel that I can transform lives. that's why we also invest in many social projects in Brazil that requires high technology.
Yes, you were not for money and power. You were for
No,
making a change, improving people's lives through
that's
technology.
true.
Impressive.
That's true.
So now you want to do an MBA. When did you start thinking about MBA and what are your future career goals?
I started thinking about the MBAs a couple of years ago when I decided to go for business when I joined IBM. And I think there are two main reasons why I want to do the MBA right now. And the first one is to gain skills. So I've passed through very intense experience both from the corporate world and managing my own startup in the last years. But I kind of learned everything on the try and error manner. And I believe this is the right moment to have a step back and learn things that is not possible to learn only if you are practicing it. You need to really study that. So this is one of the reasons. And the second one is to change mindset. I believe that most people in Latin America and developing countries will understand what I'm going to say now. So Brazil is like natural resource economy. We literally take things off the ground and try to make money of it. And we don't have like this mindset of high technology, of investing in high knowledge to build things up here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for the sake of our future, we need to change this mindset. And this is one of the things that I want to learn on during the MBA. I want to learn how to overcome these barriers that we have in our countries. We don't have many investments in internship, in entrepreneurship. We don't have many investments in innovation. So the people that invest that, they really struggle to do it. And I want to learn how can I overcome these barriers and develop our country in terms of technology. So when I think about my future goals, is really to become an international leader that is able to catalyze the innovations in the country and work on artificial intelligence big causes in Latin America. This is my big main goal for career.
Impressive, highly impressive. So how do you
Thank you.
think MIT will help you achieve your goals?
When I was looking for my school, I was not only looking for a business school, because for me it was important to be inside an ecosystem that allows me to be also part of some cutting edge technologies that I could have access to another campus, another courses, to talk with people from engineering, talk with high tech people. And Sloan is kind of the middle of everything. So this is the main reason. At Sloan, I also have the possibility to share and to exchange experience with people from Harvard. It's just, I don't know, 2 kilometers, one from another. And I can actually have classes with them. So this is unique, like this diversity environment that I hope I will find in Sloan is unique. And this is like the big main reason for MIT. And there is another thing that most people doesn't know, because when we heard about MIT, we think that it's all about technology, but this is not true. MIT has a strong community for entrepreneurship and innovation, and they have a lot of classes, a lot of labs, and actually they have also a competition. They call 100K competition, where you can really build your startup with people from another departments and compete for that money.
Yeah, you're right. It's a beautiful campus and you will have great time there. So Eduardo, GMAT Prep. GMAT is an integral part of the application process. Can you tell us about your GMAT Prep, what strategy you used to get a 700 plus score?
Sure. I was, as I told before, I was planning for the MBA for a while, but I really decided I would like to apply for this year in August. And that's when I started to study for the GMAT. It was, in the total was 4 months of preparation, and I did the GMAT twice. And I think your life can be much easier if you understand how the test works.
Yes.
So if you have a close friend that gives you the first tips where to look for it. And for me, I started with the official guide, so I could have like a strong basis to understand where were my weak points and which were my strongest points. And this is really important if you start with the official guide. And I think I have 2 tips for the ones that are starting to study for the GMAT right now. So the first one, understand how the test works. I failed on my first attempt because of that. It's really important that you finish the test. It is an adaptive testing. So when you get questions right, it goes up, your score up. When your questions go wrong, it goes down your score. And if you understand that, you understand why it's so important to finish the test. I didn't finish on my first attempt, and my score went really down. So understand how is the behavior of the test. It will help you. And the second one is GMAT is all about practicing. So this is a standard testing. They need to compare people that did the test today with the people that did the test 2 weeks ago. So a lot of things repeat, and you need to do a lot of tests. This is like a tip. And about my routine, it was 4 months of preparation. During the week, I was studying 2 hours per day overnight. And over the weekends, I was doing a mock test, a complete mock test that you can find a lot available on the internet. And during the afternoon, I was looking at my answers, even the correct ones, and checking why this was the right answer. And my score went up very fast by this procedure.
Yeah, you scored a 710.
710. It was like an okay score, but it was able to get me into MIT. So
yeah, it was good score. So looking back, what was the most challenging aspect of the MBA admission process? How did you approach that challenge and overcome it?
Apart from the GMAT, I think the biggest challenge is to understand what are your values, to do this deep search on our soul and understand why do I want to do an MBA and what I want to do in my future. And for me, the biggest challenge was to choose my stories. I knew I had a lot of things I could tell, but how can I tell it, and how can I connect one story with the other one? How can I do it in a good way that will show who I am? And it was very hard, and that's where you helped me a lot, Poonam. If you remember, my first draft was like a big thing, very organized. I didn't know how to proper show the things up. And also the GMAT helps you a little bit of that because you study a lot about how to use the proper words, how to use the adverbs. So this deep soul that you need to do, sometimes you need to call some people to help you to discuss. And thank you for that. You helped me a lot, Poonam.
Yeah, it was my pleasure assisting you with your application, and your stories were awesome. We only had to figure out how to present them in an effective manner. So what would you advise other MBA applicants who are facing similar challenges? Would you like to give some pointers to the prospective applicants?
I think I would like to add one more thing. So this is like a long process. You will probably won't be able to write down your essays in 1 week. So a big tip is to don't apply for your dream university as your the first university to apply that is not your dream university, because you learn a lot during the process and you improve a lot. So if I remember, my first application was weaker than my last one, and it helps a lot. So you cannot copy the ideas from one to another, but perhaps you can use 40% of the things that you use. So I think this is like a strong tip I could give for the future applicants.
Yeah, I also advise the same thing. Don't apply to your dream school first. Keep it towards the end. By that time, you have gone through that self-reflection process and you start understanding yourself in a much better way than you did in the first application.
So it's true, and I think most of people only realize that on the end. Because then you see how you improve it during the process, and it's really true. So
yeah, I always say it's a process of self-discovery. You discover yourself through this process. True. So as an entrepreneur in the field of technology, you have worked on many life-changing projects. Can you name a project that is close to your heart, that is most important to you?
If you don't mind, I would like to tell about two projects, very, very
Sure.
fast.
Sure.
So the first one, I briefly told the beginning about the solar oven. So when I was in the Netherlands, I was in the energy renewable lab, and I was discussing with an inventor. He told me that he had visited some villages in Africa where people still use firewoods to cook, and this smoke of the firewoods causes lung problems, especially in women and kids. And we know how poor these isolated places can be. So we were trying to figure out a solution to these people to use. So it should be a cheap thing, and they should be able to use it. And so we started to discuss about solar ovens that are it was like the first guess, but we found a big problem about the solar ovens that we are not able to cook at night. So when you imagine the family experience about a family that cannot cook a family dinner, this was like something that kept on our head. And we started to work on something, and it was like a big challenge. But after several months working on the garage, constructing things with hand, with only mechanical movements, we were able to build this solar oven that is able to cook at night. And this was really a groundbreaking to me. I was still on the university, but it kind of changed my idea, because if I could do like a solar oven that could cook at night, I was much more excited about do these great things that could help the humanity in general.
Yeah,
So
I'm
this is
sure it.
like the
Sorry, sorry, go ahead.
and this was also the first time that I faced some concepts for innovation. So what we were doing, I didn't know, but we were prototyping. So we were prototyping every week a new solution, and we could construct that thing, that solar oven, in a couple of months. That I believe it won't be able if we wouldn't prototype in the garage. So it's a pretty strong experience for me.
I'm sure it's
And
been a fulfilling experience. You know, when we were working on your application, I was especially intrigued by this innovation of yours, solar oven that can cook at night. It must have been a very satisfying, fulfilling experience.
it was very nice. And another experience I would like to share is something that I'm working right now with my company. So we have a strong sense of social responsibility, and we try to at least in half of our projects work on social causes. And I think this is like a global problem. I'm sure it's a global problem, but in developing countries it's even worse. That is the violence against women.
Yeah.
We know that less than 10% of the cases are reported because these women are afraid to report it. Most of times the aggressor is in the inner circle of the victim, so the victim is really afraid of reporting it. And we understood this problem. So how can we support these women that they will be able to provide um, their tokens? How can we add these women in this moment of this terrible moment when they are suffering some kind of violence? And we found out that if we could do like in an anonymous way, these women will be more engaged to talk. So right now we are constructing the first agent in Latin America that will be able to add this woman. And we already have contact with the US Embassy, with some politicians in Brazil.
Wow.
And this became like a big thing because another 13 companies joined us, big and small companies, and we are working on that. Not only to add the victims, but in a second phase to provide data and so we can understand how to work on the root cause.
I wish you success in this innovation of yourself. This is really very impressive. I'm highly impressed by your concern for these social issues. Great.
Thank you. Thank you, Poonam.
So apart from being a successful entrepreneur, you also have other interests and hobbies and have traveled across the world. Can you tell us something about your interests and hobbies?
Sure. Apart from work, I like to keep my body active. So this is one thing that is really important to me. I try to exercise every day. I like sports in general, and I like trekking. Just last year, I
Mhm.
was in Peru. I did the Salcantay Trail, that is 100 kilometers walking, and I also did the Cotopaxi Volcano in Ecuador some years ago. And I think the traveling part is really important to me because a lot of my aspirations I get from ideas that I discuss, especially
Mhm.
the crazy ideas, from people that I meet, from places that I meet. And these 25 countries that I've been so far backpacking helps me a lot when I think about how can I build things to help the humanity, how can I use my creativity to help the world. And I'm also very interested in psychology and human behavior. So I did a post-graduation in neuroscience applied to
Mhm.
marketing. That helps me not only to understand how the brain and emotion people works, but I also use this kind of things that I learned in the neuroscience about human behavior in my artificial intelligence solutions.
Amazing use of neuroscience for your innovative projects. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Now, finally, as you know, COVID-19 has turned our lives upside down. So, given the current turmoil and uncertainty caused by this global health crisis, what challenges you are anticipating as an international student?
Well, we already know that we are already facing some challenges actually. So we know that the visa process is delayed. The U.S. embassy is closed in Brazil, and we know that some flights are canceled. So we are a bit worried that we might not be able to reach the starting date on time. And I think as a student for the next year, we will all need to learn how to work more virtually. So I expect that some labs and some classes change because of that. And I think this can be a good thing, not only looking for the bad situation. But I also think that this crisis and this unemployment is a big opportunity. This is the first time it happens, and we need to look at it with careful. So when I think about good things that can happen, we know that values and behaviors in people change in moments of crisis. So being an MBA right now, learning new things, learning how innovation process is going on, I think it's a great opportunity to be able to help to change the world for better after these 2 years. And when I think about internship, this can be a little bit of a problem because we know that we have like an increase on the unemployment rate. But I think after 2 years, it will be probably a good moment. The crisis will be off, and the
Yes.
companies will be returning to work on. So they will probably be looking at hiring as a good scenario in 2 years by the end of the MBA. So I'm looking positively as well.
Yeah, it helps to look at these things in a positive way. And patience, resilience, perseverance are what we need at this time.
Exactly, that's
So,
true.
and we'll get through this. So, have you gotten any updates from MIT?
Just small updates up to now. So we know that there is the possibility that we won't be able to start the classes on time. They told us that we can have a scenario that we might delay a little bit for a couple of weeks or 1 month. There is also the scenario that we might need to start with virtual classes, but they told us that they are positive about the overcome of the situation, and we will probably have class on time. So I'm also positive right now.
Great. So things will get better soon. All right, Eduardo, it was really nice talking to you. Thank you for sharing your story with us. It was a pleasure chatting with you. I wish you success in your future endeavors and a great time at MIT. Thank you.
Thank you, Poonam. Thank you for your time for this interview. Thank you for your time for the people that are watching, and I wish you the best wishes for your process.
Thank you.